everybody, it's Wallguy. I know I don't do videos too often anymore. It's largely just because there isn't much gaming related that I feel compelled to speak about. I mean, I have opinions like anyone, but I'm generally indifferent as to whether people hear them or not, for the most part. But my friend and fellow YouTuber Krahu recently released a video talking about Medal of Honor, so I thought I'd chip in since my YouTube content has been so entrenched with the series. Now, if you haven't seen his video yet, I'll link it in the description below. I suggest that you take a look at it before you watch this one, both because it's a good video, but also because it relates to what I'm talking about. Alright, well, now that you've done that, we'll get going. Now, as Medal of Honor fans, you're well acquainted with the series and its history. You know that it's been nearly 4 years since the last new installment. And you know, both Warfighter and Medal of Honor 2010 were both not well received by critics and many fans, really. And you probably love the games despite all this. But due to their quality and popularity issues, and EA's seeming indifference to the series, they officially shelved the franchise indefinitely. And as I said, it's been 4 years, a long time for any major franchise to wait for the next entry. I mean, it wouldn't be so bad if we knew one was coming soon, but it's much worse than that because there's been no indication that the series will move forward at all. And even if they started today in earnest, we wouldn't see a new Medal of Honor for at least 2 or 3 more years. And that turns what is a 4-year gap now into more like a 7+ year gap. I know for a fact there's a contingent of developers and even executives within EA, it may be hard to believe, but there is a large group within EA that is fond of the series. They'd really like to bring it back, but it has to make business sense, for it to get approved. They can't just do stuff as charity, they are a business. And when they bring the game back, they have to bring it back in a way that will sell well, and also overcome the issues that caused the last couple of Medal of Honor games to flop compared to expectations. Now, I know a lot of you yearn for a new Medal of Honor, but I don't think you just want EA to push another one out for the sake of it. We don't really need another Medal of Honor 2010 or Warfighter. Our heart might be telling us that we do, that yeah, we'll take it, just so we could have something, anything. But you have to resist this sort of thinking. What we really want is a new and great Medal of Honor, one that's worthy of the best titles in the series, one that perhaps redefines the genre and pushes these types of games to a whole new level. I mean, how do you do that? Well, if you're asking me, I'd start with a great campaign. You gotta make the campaign great again. You gotta make it as immersive and poignant as the first 2 original PlayStation entries were. To me, those games are legendary, with Frontline being a little less so, but still great. And since then, and maybe I'm in the minority, I don't know, but I believe that the campaigns have been on a decline. I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed 2010's campaign, but despite scattered high points with story and atmosphere, the gameplay was stale in a way that most FPS campaigns are nowadays. Warfighter dragged this out further. I got enjoyment out of the campaign, but I wouldn't brag about the gameplay to anyone. It's a dime a dozen. We need a new Medal of Honor to do for story-driven FPS campaigns what Doom did recently for its own franchise. Capture the important essence of the old while still injecting the game with a new energy, a freshness. I mean, that's so much easier said than done. If you look at EA's known recent and future games, do you honestly think that they're ready to take this on as a challenge to make this exciting new Medal of Honor campaign? I don't. Look at Battlefront and the last couple Battlefields. We're kind of stuck in a rut. Across the industry, we're stuck in a rut with FPS campaigns. They're bland and repetitive and extremely linear. The campaign is very straightforward, and there's just not a lot to do gameplay-wise. We need a revival, and I don't know if they're ready to make it. I'm ready for it myself. I want to play it, but I'm not sure what they do to bring that to us. Now, obviously, multiplayer is a very important facet to the Medal of Honor games as well. That's where I've taken most of my enjoyment from Medal of Honor in the more recent titles, as the campaigns have become increasingly weaker, as I said. Medal of Honor 2010, in my opinion, was brilliant in a lot of ways. It just failed a lot of times on a technical level, and made the mistake of catering to hardcore FPS players in a way that scared away casual players. Average players became basically spawn trap fodder for better players, and they felt like there was no counter. I mean, they got frustrated and left. I didn't have this problem. I could always escape a spawn trap. But games don't hold success because hardcore players like them. They have to appeal to a wide audience. Average players need to be able to have fun too, somehow. Now, Warfighter's multiplayer was much more of a technical mess than 2010. And not only that, but much of the original vision of the game was muted by EA due to controversies in the news. I mean, there were still a lot of good ideas in the game, and ultimately it was quite good if you could overlook a lot of those glaring issues. But we're left dreaming about what the game could have been or should have been if it was allowed to be what it was supposed to. Now, is EA ready to support their game 100%, support the vision of the creators? I don't know. They haven't proven that they are that developer. And we don't want another half-assed attempt at a Medal of Honor game. We want them to go all in, have a great vision, and execute it. And then stand behind it if there's controversy in the press. In a new multiplayer, I'd like to see the great gunplay come back. Have like a skill-based gunplay that didn't have too high a barrier to entry, but greatly rewarded skill on the upper end. I'd also like to see the offensive and defensive score chain dynamic come back. I believe it was best done in Medal of Honor 2010. We need top-notch sound design and destructive environments. I want to focus on infantry combat in medium-sized, non-linear maps. Modes don't have to try too hard to avoid popular modes of other games. That's kind of impossible. If you're in the FPS genre, you're going to be somewhat similar. But they should still proceed in a way that fits Medal of Honor. I don't want to see the poor Rush ripoff of Combat Mission. I'm not a fan, and they've always demanded separate, mostly linear maps that won't work well with any other mode. So make medium-sized maps that work well with all modes in the game. I mean, cut them down as needed for each mode if you have to, but use the same maps. That way all modes will share a large map pool. Those are just some basic ideas that would interest me. We don't need like Battlefield Massive or Call of Duty Tiny. We need a middle ground with an infantry focus. Modes like Hotspot, Sector Control, TDM, and some new objective modes, and we've got a game. I mean, maybe give us a mode similar to what Killzone does, where objectives are random and randomly placed. That kind of thing would be fun. But I don't really want to use this video to design the new game, although your ideas are welcome in the comments. My point is more just to have a dialogue, as Krahu is starting. I want a new Medal of Honor, and I want every effort to go into it being great. So I've shared some of my ideas. I don't think a new Medal of Honor is coming anytime soon, if I have to be honest with you. EA's plate is definitely full. They have to refresh their biggest franchises like Battlefield and Madden and FIFA, all that stuff. And they've also now have permanent Star Wars obligations. So is there enough resources left to also make a worthy Medal of Honor? Only EA knows for sure, but I'm here making a little bit of noise just to let them know, just in case they're listening, that we still want a Medal of Honor game. We as fans are still here. There's millions of us. And we'll buy the new game if you just do it justice, EA. Do it the justice it deserves. We don't have a lot of power by ourselves, but maybe together EA will hear us. So share this video and Krahu's video around as much as possible. Tell EA that you want a new Medal of Honor on Twitter or other social media. It's worth a shot. I mean, it's all we can do, and you never know.